micro, small, and medium enterprises as catalysts of economic growth cannot be overemphasized, as they currently contribute over 40% to Nigeria's GDP. Understanding this, the Economic Forum series hosted the Maiden MSME Finance CEO Forum, which discussed the theme Unlocking MSME Finance for Nigeria's $1 trillion economy, powering growth through policies, innovation, and partnerships.
MSMEs, are the backbone of the economy. They are the engine of the economy, but they are underserved, they're underfinanced, and need the required support such that we can really drive the economy. Again, we put this within the context of the bold declaration by the federal government of building a $1 trillion economy by 2030. And for us at the Economic Forum series, we believe strongly that that goal might not be realizable if the needed support and the funding for the MSMEs, is not really put in place. And to really tackle this, we felt that we needed to begin to convene CEOs across the financial services landscape, the key players within this sector that can actually drive the financing for these MSMEs.
In his goodwill message, the founder and chairman of ProShare, Mr. Olufemi Awuyemi, MNI, highlighted critical issues to shape the discourse on MSME financing.
The fundamental question before us today is that there are a few things that has changed entirely that makes such a gathering today more important than you would have thought it was. First and foremost is that as a country, we're going to have to find a way to redefine what we mean by MSMEs. The metrics, the definition, the extrapolation, and the interpretation of what MSMEs means, which we have used to define our policies or whatever, no longer holds relevance today. That is the first thing. The second thing we would have to do is that the concept of the small family, small business as the central point that drives the economy has never been integrated in there. And whereas politics is about 4 years, the next election, the critical thing we need right now is to find a way to understand that we have to differentiate between people who are just trying to survive and those who are real entrepreneurs.
The keynote speaker and acting chairman of the National Pension Commission, Mr. Opeyemi Agbaji, believed Nigeria needs to build a robust venture capital ecosystem to enhance financing for MSMEs.
One of the biggest implications as a system is that we have to build venture capital in Nigeria. And that's a question that I think we should try to address today. How can we create a stronger venture capital ecosystem in Nigeria? To be fair to banks, they're not the best people. Yes, they're doing it. We can see that banks are 26% currently. For the capital investment needs of SMEs, banks may not be the best, the ideal partner. Venture capitalists are the ideal partners.
Given a regulatory perspective, Mr. Bola Ajomale, the Executive Commissioner, Operations for the Securities and Exchange Commission, listed some of the frameworks designed to support MSME development in Nigeria.
If you see an investment opportunity, one that sounds too good to be true, that's promising you a 15, 20% immediate money back or something like that, then think about it properly. If you're under pressure to put down some money, if you're being told, don't tell anyone, if you're being told, don't tell your family, then think twice about it. It may be a scam. Number two, if you then see these opportunities and you have the consciousness, or you should develop the consciousness and encourage everyone else as well to have the consciousness to check, is this authorized or approved by the SEC? If it is not, then it means it is an illegal instrument. And if you're putting your money into an illegal instrument that is not recognized by the SEC, then you don't have any cover. It's like you depositing your money in a place that is not under NDIC cover, or in some organization that calls itself a bank but cannot prove to you that it's registered at the CBN. It's not a bank. Therefore, you're laying yourself up to be scammed. And unfortunately, everyone calls on the SEC, but the SEC only sees what comes its way. It is up to individuals who want to put their money in there who should say, SEC, are you aware of this? And if the SEC says no, then they are well advised to withdraw. Since the CBEX issue, we have had to inform people through various channels that if it is not SEC approved, then it probably is not a good investment opportunity for you, one. And two, we've started See It, Snap It. We've got all sorts of schemes where you can actually report. You can report a scheme, and SEC would go after them, review it, and will shut it down. We have powers under the new ISA to shut down organizations, prosecute them, and even prosecute all these influencers and organizations who promote such schemes. We can shut them down. We've heard of some of those scheme meetings taking place, pyramid scheme meetings taking place in hotels and so on, and we've actually shut down the hotels before. So we are doing our very best to maintain our primary mandate, which is protecting investors, but we are also reassuring people on a regular basis that if it is a scam, there's a difference between a scam and an investment. If you fall into a scam, it is not under SEC coverage. SMEs come, they need to raise funding, they need long-term capital. That long-term capital, as Mr. Agbaje just said, a lot of it comes from friends and family. Now, you then have a decision to take as an investor whether you want to put your money in there. The person who wants to raise money as well also wants to raise it and is hoping. No one writes a business plan and says this is bound to fail. Everybody has the best intent to run their business and run it well. However, I will again reiterate, knowledge is key. Record keeping is critical. If you don't have records of where you're coming from and how your business has got to the level that it's at, then you cannot, it's far more difficult for you to convince somebody who even has cash available that your business is going to thrive if you don't have records of how you kept what you did with the first 100,000 naira that came your way, the next 1 million that came your way. If you don't have records of what you have done with it and how you have turned it around and sweated that initial capital, it's difficult for you to attract even more.
The event featured 2 panel sessions that explored driving innovation, collaboration, and scalable models for MSME financing, and a capital markets dialogue on unlocking non-bank finance for MSMEs. The convener of the Maiden MSME Finance CEO Forum, Mr. Jude Ndu, and other dignitaries at the event speak further on the opportunities to scale financing and support for MSMEs in Nigeria.
When we saw the critical role that, we know the narrative. MSMEs are the backbone of the economy. They are the engine growth of the economy. But until you begin to realize that, this is beyond talk. These people actually drive the economy. They create the most jobs. They create the most wealth in terms of income for households. And so if you're really going to make any meaningful impact across every ecosystem, the MSMEs must be the target, because that is where the immediate impact is felt, because they are down there. So for us, how do we begin to encourage this sector? How do we begin to drive awareness, advocacy for this sector? For us, how do we begin to bring stakeholders together? The policymakers, the decision makers, the financial sector players, because we realize that why most MSMEs are stuck, aside the other reasons that are out there, but we find out that funding becomes a critical issue. They get stuck because there's nobody to fund, their growth. They can scale, but the funding is not there to scale.
So what SEC Nigeria is doing is we are creating frameworks that will support both the growth of the smaller companies, the development of the platforms that will support that growth, and also educate investors as to what kind of investments are right for them. So we're approaching it from a full holistic point of view, where we're looking at the operators, making sure the operators are skilled enough to handle those kind of investments, either in creating their collective investment schemes or in creating platforms that can be used. We have regulatory incubation platforms that will support such operators in honing their platform to the extent that it can actually be effective in delivering that mandate. We have programs where we educate investors so that investors know what is right, what is not right for them, or what's a good fit for them or not. And then we also have programs that even support the investee companies to allow them get educated. I mean, that's why we're here in this kind of program, for example, to allow them gain more knowledge about what is important for them. At one point, I did make to the investee companies is one of the most important things they can do is not say they want capital, but must prepare themselves to be able to absorb that capital when it does come and is available to them. That's the first thing they should do. The second thing they need to do, or probably even more important, is that they need to build records of what they have been doing in the past, so that by the time they find an investor, they can convince the investor of judicious use of the funds when they do come available.
Our focus really, beyond funding, is innovation, capacity building, and then also ensuring that we have the right strategic partners to enable us achieve our objectives for MSMEs.
Microfinance banks are devising models that are blending convenience, access, and value to make sure that they actually contribute better to the 1 trillion economy goal. And this is through leveraging on technology with a digital capability, whether in liability raising or in lending capabilities. Microfinance banks are now able to really reach people throughout the country and actually make a relevant contribution. I believe one of the contribution to be noted of microfinance banks to the 1 trillion economy goal is the fact that they contribute actively to formalize informal cash flows and informal businesses. And that alone brings a relevant contribution to the goal. And I hope that they'll be able to do that much more effectively as they transform into phygital or digital banking platforms.
Access Bank, we are ready to support MSMEs. It's something that this year alone, we have financed over 7 in terms of digital loans, which is one of the areas of ensuring that MSMEs have easy access to loan, over 75 billion naira this year. We have over a portfolio in excess of over 400 billion naira lending to MSMEs already. So we are very, very excited about the prospect of supporting MSMEs in Nigeria. So how do we make things a lot easier? Issues around collateral lending, we've talked about it, that how many MSMEs do not have the right collateral required. So with the AI bringing it on board, credit scoring, makes it a lot easier for us to be able to do that. Also with credit guarantee scheme partnerships with other players, it makes it easy for people to do that. So we are really very excited about the huge opportunities that are available now for partnership with other players, like between banks and fintech, and between telcos and the corporates, towards supporting the potential for growth in MSME. So the future looks very, very bright, and we're excited to be part of it.
As Nigeria seeks to address the challenges of MSME financing, a critical step is aligning policies and regulations that ease commerce, facilitate production, achieve a robust venture capital ecosystem, expand credit, and enable an inclusive economy.